Good evening. My name is Uyai Anyeka and coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiako, Uran. Today on Spotlight Africa, we see that William Ruto elected as the 5th president of Kenya with 50.49 votes. First post-blockade food aid leaves Ukraine for Africa. WHO, Macron, Africa leaders call for better and more equitable vaccine system. Plus, on Spotlight Africa, we see Ugandans manufacture low energy consumption computers. All the stories are just all ahead on Spotlight Africa. Do stay with us. First in Spotlight Africa is a report that Kenya's Deputy President William Ruto has been elected as the country's next president. Ruto won with fifth in his 5th election. He will become Kenya's 5th president since independence, winning the seat on his first attempt. Ruto's party, the Kenya First Coalition, has won a majority of seats in Kenya's Senate, the second highest in the National Assembly. Supporters of William Ruto, Kenya's president-elect, celebrated in Eldoret on August 15. The results announcement was delayed for more than 2 hours past the constitutional deadline, and the country's electoral commission was split after 4 officials disowned the commission's chairman Wafula Chebukati's results.
So there were 4 presidential candidates. These are the aggregated results. Odinga Raila, total valid votes 6,942,930. Ruto William Samoei, number of valid votes 7 million. Thank you. 7,176,141. In accordance with the
Meanwhile, Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga has rejected the set they stood by their decision a day earlier to disown the outcome of the presidential poll. He said the final tallying process had been opaque, emphasizing that the figures announced by the Electoral Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati must be quashed by the court of law. Chebukati 8.5%. The results were said to have given Ruto a wafer-thin victory. However, Chebukati was erroneously aggregated and accused of overruling their questions on the.
Our view in Azimio is clear. The figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void. I repeat, the figures announced by Mr. Chebukati are null and void and must be quashed by a court of law. In our view, there is neither a legally and validly declared winner nor a president-elect.
Still on the Kenyan general elections, a group of independent observers have said that the just concluded Kenya's presidential election corresponds to their own tally. The observation group by name of ELOG said they had dispatched over 5,000 observers across 290 constituencies in 47 counties in the whole of Kenya. ELOG notes that the results transmission system worked much better than expected, with over 99% of scan images of the 34A and the 34B posted on the IEBC web portal. ELOG further reiterated that it is up to the Supreme Court of Kenya to validate the declaration made by the chairperson of the Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission, Wafula Chebukati. 4 of the 7 electoral commissioners of Kenya's presidential election said they could not support the opaque nature of the final phase of the vote verification process. They spoke before the declaration of the Deputy President William Ruto as the winner of the election over the 5-time contender Raila Odinga. Ruto received 50.49% of the votes with more than 7.1 million, while Odinga received 48.85% with more
than expected, with over 99% of scanned images of the 34A and 34B posted on the IEBC web portal.
To commemorate William Ruto's win, the supporters of the deputy president celebrated his victory in the streets after Kenya's Electoral Commission chairman, Odinga. The win has been perceived as a triumph for William Ruto, who broke the tradition by appealing to struggling Kenyans on economic terms as opposed to ethnic lines. The electoral race was close, with Ruto obtaining over 50% of the vote against almost 49% for Odinga. In his acceptance speech, President-elect of Kenya, William Ruto, promised to rule for all with commitment to the people of Kenya while building on a secure foundation that will take the country to the next level. In a separate development, rebels have killed 3 people, including a soldier and a police officer in Cameroon, near a region wrecked by a conflict between Anglophone separatists and security forces. The rebels attacked an army. Reports say the northwest and southwest regions have been the scene of a deadly 5-year conflict between armed groups demanding independence for a state called Ambazonia. Elsewhere, to shut down a parallel market for the plant, which they claim is illegal with government support. Supporters of Deputy President William Ruto celebrated in the streets after his Kenya's Meanwhile, a long-dormant armed group called the M23, which resumed fights in the Democratic Republic of Congo last year, has triggered a humanitarian crisis and a tense political showdown through its campaigns. The DRC accuses Rwanda of abetting the military, an allegation that Kigali denies. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, 200,000 people have fled their homes, while most of the said that the agency itself has been taking care of 4,000 families. The UN's Humanitarian Aid Coordinating Agency, OCHA, has also recorded 900,000 internally displaced people in the DRC. Thousands have found a state utility. ESCOM has said it would implement stage 2 rotational power cuts between 4 and 5 p.m. local time due to a shortage of generation capacity. The power utility warned that the power cuts are necessary due to the shortage of generation capacity. Spokesperson Shikonafi Maganashka says there is also a high probability that load shedding will be required simultaneously. He said that currently there exists a 4,550 megawatt supply on planned maintenance, while another 14 megawatts of capacity is unavailable due to breakdowns. ESCOM has urged all South Africans to continue using electricity sparingly.
This is what we do in our country. And today what's happening is that poor countries and emerging countries.
In another development, European Union and African leaders, including Emmanuel Macron and Paul Kagame, have called for technology sharing and innovation support to produce more vaccines locally in the world to combat pandemics. The French, Rwandan, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and Senegalese President Macky Sall, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and World Health Organization WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus raised these concerns. They emphasized that it was high time collaborations intensified to promote local production while building confidence in locally produced products in order to be better prepared for the next crisis. Since Africa is the world's least vaccinated continent against COVID-19, with less than 20% of its 1.2 billion population receiving 2 doses of the vaccine. Africa's first messenger RNA vaccine factory opened in June in Rwanda with the aim of producing treatments for COVID-19 and other diseases for millions of people across the continent by early 2024. South Africa has opened a COVID vaccine factory. Senegal is also set to become a regional hub for vaccine manufacturing. They have called for more trainings of personnel and regulations with more investments in pandemic preparedness.
For these doses. This is what we do in our country. And today what's happening is that poor countries and emerging countries are paying much more probably than the rich countries. We are crazy. So number one fight is all together, if we team up, African and European, just to say we need a common pricing. We need transparency on the pricing.
We cannot continue to wait in the queue for life-saving COVID-19 vaccines. We are waiting in the queue and we are tired of waiting in the queue. We want to be at the front of the queue. And this must happen now.
In another development, the ship Brave Commander has left the Ukrainian port of STVNg, carrying the first cargo of humanitarian food aid bound for Africa from Ukraine since Russia's invasion. Reports say Ukraine's grain exports have slumped since the start of the war because of the closure of its Black Sea ports, driving up global food prices and sparking fears of shortages in Africa and the Middle East. Moscow calls Ukraine's action a special military operation to demilitarize its neighbor and protect Russian-speaking communities. Ukraine calls it an imperial-style war of conquest. 3 Black Sea ports have unblocked under a deal between Moscow and Kyiv, brokered by the United Nations and Turkey, making it possible to send hundreds of thousands of tons of Ukrainian grain to buyers. The Brave Commander, carrying 23,000 tons of wheat, left for the Horn of Africa port of Djibouti, with supplies destined for consumers in Ethiopia, Ukraine's infrastructure. The ministry and the United Nations are working on ways to increase food supplies for the socially vulnerable sections of the African population. In a separate development, the Liberian President George Weah has suspended 3 government officials who were sanctioned by the United States for an ongoing involvement in public corruption. The sanctions targeted Weah's Chief of Staff Nathaniel McGill, Liberia's Chief Prosecutor Sema Sirenius, and Bill Thawer, the Managing Director of the National Port Authority and the U.S. Treasury Department. The 3 were allegedly engaged in corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, taking private assets for personal gains or bribery. Weah said in a statement that he viewed these allegations against the officials as grave and that he had suspended them with immediate effect so they could face investigations.
Worsened to the point that it is now the dominant issue in a bilateral relationship that would otherwise show far more promise. Like I said, I'd rather be meeting representatives from American corporations and telling them what a great place Liberia is to invest. And the reason why our Treasury Department has designated Minister of State Nathaniel McGill, National Port Authority Director Bill Twawe, and Solicitor General Serenius Cephas is because these individuals have been directly contributing to this problem. Rather than seeking ways to fight corruption for the betterment of Liberia, these worsened.
We move now to Africa, where an endangered African penguin had been pushed away from its pure Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll bring you the rest of the news on Spotlight Africa. Do stay with us. Thanks for staying tuned. In Africa, we see an endangered African species of penguin which have been pushed away from its pure habitat of the east coast of South Africa, resulting from noise from ship refueling. A scientific examination discovered the variety of African penguins on St. Croix Island in Aglo Bay, the world's largest breeding colony of the birds, has plummeted since South Africa began to permit ships in the world to refuel at sea, a cause often known as bunkering. Situated in a busy shipping lane alongside South Africa's east coast, Agua Bay is wealthy in marine and chicken life. The new examination, printed on August 10th in the peer-reviewed Science of the Total Environment journal, is primary to the discovery of the effect of maritime site visitors, noise air pollution on a seabird, and the consequence of offshore bunkering actions on underwater noise ranges. On Spotlight Africa, we see Ugandans manufacture low-energy consumption computers. Ugandan engineers have developed Microfuse, a device designed to make computing and computers accessible to all Africans, especially those who are dealing with irregular power supplies. The device is currently being tested in a school on the outskirts of Kampala, a small revolution for the school. The stick computers prove to be much cheaper than traditional computers and also consume much less energy, a great alternative for many of the staff. The creator of the device, Ivan, said the frustration of many people with the lack of electricity resulting in the inability to use computers was the trigger for its invention. He said the laptop, made from local materials, costs about $70 and can operate in a very remote area of the continent with solar energy. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, only 2% of Ugandans currently have access to a computer. Ivan and his team hope to have 10,000 devices on the market by October this year. They also aim to go for the African Continental Free Trade Area in order to be more competitive. On Spotlight Personality for today, Ms. Chepukoria, 24, an April 2021 graduate of Chuka University, beat 8 older candidates to become the third woman representative in Bome County. Chepukor becomes Kenya's youngest ever county woman representative in the National Assembly after the August 9 general elections in Kenya. A young graduate without means who had a dream of getting elected into Kenya's parliament against the odds of age, the lack of experience, and other gender biases, scaled through the just concluded parliament election in her Bomet County. The case of Ms. Chakper, the successor of Ms. Joyce Kerr, is one of daring to dream in a field where big names and huge campaign war chests are known to carry the day. In a county with 376,985 registered voters as per the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC register, Ms. Chakper garnered 242,775 votes against her closest rival, Dr. Alice Milgo of Chama Cha Mashini, who secured 43,180. She represents focus, determination, a humble heart as boosters to make such audacious dreams possible. She encourages every woman to pursue her dreams with passion and that all dreams are valid. That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spotlight Africa. I am Uyai Anyekin. Thanks for watching and do enjoy the rest of your evening.